Hi, hi.
Good evening.
Episode
Good morning.
37.
Hi. How you feeling?
Morning from me. I am feeling slowly better. Slowly better. Today, now it's more about mood for me and energy. It is slowly getting better, but it's really slight. So I'm trying to lean into the lessons and try to hear, what I need to be doing, and everything I'm hearing is not doing, which for me is tough. So working through that, but feeling good.
All
Thanks for
right.
asking.
Broken rib energy be gone. We're ready to
Yes,
move on.
yes. All right, Good
All
Thinking,
right.
weekly episode 37.
Yeah. I'm Chris. I head up strategy here at In Good Co.
I'm Kirsten, Chief Clarity Officer at In Good Co. And this is our weekly podcast breaking down just a smidge of the
The
newsletter.
smallest smidge of the newsletter. But whatever is rising to the top after having settled, the newsletter comes out on a Sunday, and this comes out somewhere midweek. We're vague about that. Wednesday,
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday.
But here we go. Let's dig in. And there's a ton of things that I want to pull apart, but I think focusing on just the one thing is helpful. But I think it's continuing the conversation and continuing to blow up. So I think it's a really good time. And it's talking about the Burger King thing.
I did not see the controversy coming. Like, I saw the controversy of, so for context, I wrote about it in the letter.
Yeah.
Grubhub and Burger King came out with similar kind of campaigns, and that's sort of what struck me. But honestly, that's not where the controversy is coming from. So
Will you give background on the campaigns, though?
Yeah. So Grubhub's campaign, which to my knowledge, it came out before. And, these campaigns take a long time. So obviously these things were cooking at the same time. So that's not it's just kind of more of an awkward coincidence, in my opinion, than one copied the other, because they're too close to be copies. But Grubhub came out with a campaign that features the first meal right after you give birth, and it features photos of women getting delivery. They also did a portion of the campaign where on a certain day of the week you could apply to get free Grubhub Plus for a year if you'd given birth that week or something. So there was also more to it for moms, which I also liked, that it wasn't just the photographs of moms, but there was also some support element, which I think is why for me it's the specificity of Grubhub is all the different kinds of foods, and for me burgers aren't the thing. It would 100% have been sushi had I not given birth in the middle of the pandemic and had to eat meat sticks for my first meal. So it would have been sushi, and Grubhub could have delivered it for me, and I enjoyed that campaign. And then literally as I'm writing about this, I'm on LinkedIn, and then suddenly there's the Burger King campaign comes out, and initially and this one features moms eating burgers as their first meal, and that comes out of a study that was done by MomNet that said that 39%, or maybe it's 32%, I can't remember exactly the stat, of moms had asked for a burger as their first meal. So they did some insights, and the source of the insights is at least mom driven. So I enjoyed that. And then, that was the campaign, moms eating burgers. So you could imagine that the controversy would be about, oh my God, Burger King, how on earth did you put out this campaign at the same time as Grubhub, and why are you all drinking from the same water fountain? But that is not what the controversy is. You want to tell what is going on in your LinkedIn feed? Because my LinkedIn feed is nothing but.
Well, I think it's interesting because it's helpful to kind of have the background of that, and have not just the background of kind of the two campaigns at the same time, but also the insights in that. Because I'm digging out of being out. And so I am not tapped into, I've not kind of read the articles and all the things to really see those insights. So all I'm getting is just the feed of the Burger King images and kind of the controversy that's going on in that in any of my feeds, right? So it's interesting. And I imagine there's a lot of people like me that don't have the insights, that don't have that background, that are just seeing this and that doesn't feel like a good thing. Burger King's pushing this on women that think this is okay. And it almost feels like there's an importance, as an equal importance of what the baby arrived at this time and then Burger King arrived at this time. It's an interesting juxtaposition. And I think there's that that controversy of like, what's Burger King doing in this really intimate, hopefully healthy kind of environment? What's kind of the controversy that you're seeing pop up in your feeds?
It's definitely that. I would say it's mostly from men. Like, I would say there's a lot of male voices in this conversation that shouldn't, like, in my opinion, like, get your voice out of that conversation, because, like, this isn't a conversation necessarily that you should be leading. Like, let some other people lead this conversation about, like, whether or not this is, like, right or not. My personal opinion always goes to whatever a mom feels like she wants to do on that day, let her do that. So if
100%,
that's the
100%.
So from when I read, like, this is coming from the study and the MomNet provided that study, I felt like, you know what? Like, let it be a burger. Like, fine. I was okay with it. But that is definitely not the vibe. And I think, like, any time that, like, people resort to how on earth could you be doing this? Because it definitely felt like it was more of a judgment on women and less of a judgment on Burger King themselves. Like, and I'm always gonna side with your right to choose on all things, burgers,
totally,
and everything else.
Totally. No, I think that's absolutely true, and I think it is about that judgment. But I think what's interesting is without the insight, right, of the study, which I think is fascinating, and I totally get it. Like, I think I had sushi, and then I had a Guinness. Like, I think it's some British thing. Isn't that a British thing? Maybe I just had in my head, but I wanted a Guinness that night. So, like, whatever. So I think whatever anybody wants.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I ate meat sticks, not out of choice, but there we would go. And if we want to talk about healthy, that was not it. But we weren't allowed to leave, and that was what we had available. So probably the first thing I ate was a meat stick. And, you know, were there better choices? Absolutely. But I don't think that my daughter is any worse off because of my meat stick choice.
No. Okay, so digging into the campaign, because I feel like the controversy is really in the Burger King campaign, not the Grubhub campaign.
People pro Grubhub. I mean, I think, I'd say that, like, I wish there was more comparison being had with the Grubhub campaign, because I think that would allow that kind of campaign to rise a little bit higher. It definitely has been overshadowed. And maybe it is lifted it, but, like, I don't know if it's lifted it in the way that's, like, doing anything for Grubhub. But, like, to me, like, yeah, I mean, like, you could always have campaigns that's like, you know, 39% of moms say that they want a burger. And that is in the video. Like, if you watch the video of the campaign, but who on earth is watching the video of the campaign? That's not what got shared.
Right.
So
is there something in looking at this campaign and having the insights, is it just a matter of like, well, screw you guys don't get an opinion, whatever a mom wants after giving birth for however many hours, like she gets to fucking have? Or is it that great, you know, good campaign, here's some things you could have done to make sure? Because I think once hearing that study and hearing that information and the mom support, like, that's rad. That's like, yes, but is there a way to have shifted that campaign to be more about that versus the takeaways like, okay, my child arrived at this time and then Burger King arrived at this time. It doesn't feel like a lot of mom support, a lot of this and that, though obviously there is.
Who knows? I mean, like, yeah, I'd say number one, yes, screw everyone else, and like let's just use that as a baseline. But if we were gonna rehash this, right, and redo this for them, like, I don't necessarily know that it needed to be a burger campaign, if that makes sense. So, like, yes, there's the burger, but how on earth fries couldn't have been high on that list? I don't know. Like, I don't think, like, you know, like, I am definitely one, and I think that there is a growing sentiment towards this, that I think there is, like, this, like, exhaustion with healthy stuff. Like, it's like, great, you can be healthy. There are moments to be healthy. There's lots of different ways to be healthy. No fries are never healthy. No burgers are never healthy, but it doesn't mean that they're not great. And, like, you can't enjoy them in the moment. And, like, who doesn't love a Mexican Coke once in a while? But is that probably, like, you know, contributing to your death? Like, probably. Like, but everything is. So I think that there could have been, like, an expansion of the conversation and, like, had burgers, like, if you'd played up the numbers, like, you know, here's 39%, and then the burgers, and then you could have like a compilation or some poster that like shows the percentages and like shows how Burger King could fit into all those percentages. Like that could be fun. Like there's lots of different ways that you could have played that. I think that's why Grubhub's is slightly better, but I think their photography was not quite as on point. Like it felt a little bit more DIY, and like there's a bag of Grubhub versus like here's this like amazing sushi thing that you've like really like craved. And I do think like I thought the photography like looked like these women were excited to have burgers, and that
totally. And I get it. Yeah, I get it. It just it felt serving, understandably, to Burger King versus like really the support and the insight that went into that. It's interesting. It's brilliant that like. Well, I think it's just brilliant that, good campaigns have that insight, right? It starts with something. It's not just like feeling burgers or whatever at this time. Like it starts with a real true insight. And I think it's interesting to identify, obviously, hindsight's 2020, to identify now that could you have brought that insight? And I don't think it's so much even the insight, the statistics. I think it's more about that mom support. Like maybe there's simply a tagline of empowering to women within that, empowering to moms within this. And maybe, you say that in the photography, but maybe there's a line, maybe there's something that could have been like, not whatever the fuck she wants, but whatever the fuck she wants.
Yeah. And
that's kind of around
like
that, because right now it's about the burger.
Yeah, I will say I saw on Instagram, on LinkedIn rather, one of the marketing people from Bobby, who I love. Bobby is the formula brand. We've talked about them a bunch. And I think they're like the right people to wade into this conversation, right? Like formula gets so much shaming, and it's like, oh, like so breast is best, da 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 da, and everybody gets up in arms. And it's like, maybe like that's not on the table for everyone. Maybe a burger is what you wanted. Like, just like, and I think like if that sentiment, you're right, like if that sentiment is like whatever is the thing that you want is the thing that you should get. Like you won this moment, you gave birth, you pushed that tiny thing out of that baby canal, or you went in that room and like had a C-section. Like good on you. If you like 39% of you said you wanted the burger, order the burger. Like like
100%.
I remember, when I went and got my like blood test done when I was pregnant, and you were like, and I showed up and I was like, I'm so dead, and you were like, order the burger. The burger will make you feel better. At Soho House, and like it was true. The burger did make me feel better. Burger. So I think like there is probably some truth behind that, and like bringing that out and bringing out more of that energy of like you should order the burger, like. Don't sacrifice in this moment.
100%. I think that's like a larger kind of truth and a larger thing that we're seeing is you were talking about like, and I eat, as you know, like super healthy, but it's like, it can't be to an extreme. Like nothing can be to an extreme, right? Like have the burger and fries when you want it. And I think this campaign, I think you're kind of people's commentary around it and around shaming somebody, like there's no room for that. And so whatever people want, and so hopefully we're kind of expanding that pie of like, she wants a burger, great. If she wants sushi, great. If she wants whatever a meat stick, great. Like whatever the fuck she wants, like let's empower and like take our opinions out of that and simply have it be a place where we're empowering, which I think is very similar to what you're talking about and what you hit on actually in the newsletter a bit of like, let's get like, it's not just about the healthy. It could be about soda. It could be about all of these other things. As you know, I love a good Mexican Coke every once in a while. It can be a yes and like let's live healthy lifestyles, but yes and let's also have the burger and fries. Let's also have the Mexican Coke on occasion. And hopefully that's kind of where we're transitioning to culturally.
I think it's definitely where we're going. That's where the movement is. And I mean, if they say, no press is bad press, then I would say also like Burger King won in this moment. Cause like, dear God, like it has been 2 days of nothing else. Like I just had to log off.
Totally. Have you seen any replies from Burger King? I'd be curious if they're weighing in on this.
I haven't seen a thing from Burger King. And I will say like, who knows if that's the right move? Because sometimes it is better to just let the people like have their moment and like don't add like fuel to the flame. What are you going to say in this moment that is going to do you any good? Like, probably nothing. Like, I think letting people have like I've seen, for me, I think like it also is a testament to who I follow. Like the sentiment of like shut up and let the ladies have what they want is more the sentiment on like my feed, but I am getting some of that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of like, let the women like hash this out. And I think like I'm rarely like one for dividing us as a group, but it is a case where I think that's true. So if they don't have a CMO, I don't know who the Burger King CMO is, but if Burger King CMO is a man, then I'm definitely not saying.
No, it's a CMO, which I think is interesting. The link that you sent, UK Chief Marketing Officer Katie Evans, I'm assuming is a woman. Head of Brand Susie Hoy, also assuming a woman. Brand Manager Matthew Moran, assuming that's a man. But yeah, but that was part of it. Again, like I think there's the credibility there in what it was and what they did. Just like a slight something else to kind of show that there were the insights, show that there was that versus just these dripping delicious burger.
I would say other thing I would say big picture is like it's very difficult for people to so Bobby has come out swinging in defense of formula, right? And we're all
Love
here
Bobby.
on the sidelines going like, yes, like love that.
Yes, 100.
But it's not like Burger King has this like rich history of like yay women. Like it's not really part of their brand. And so I do think like at a time like in this moment, like it's like, why now? Why this? Like should have maybe been asked. Like, is this part of a bigger thing? But like I think even if it's a big positioning move, like maybe you took 5 leaps too many. Like you need to kind of like establish credibility as a brand that is like an empowering brand. Like to this day, like the biggest thing that I can think of that Burger King does well is egg on McDonald's, right? Like the best campaigns that I've seen come out of Burger King are where they taunt McDonald's and then it's funny, right? And it's like, great, like keep doing those campaigns. Those are hysterical. So I do think it's like, if you're gonna, and that is part of their brand. So like, where did this come from? I think is also probably contributing.
I think that's a great point. Because when we talk about positioning, right, when we talk about active positioning, it's like, we know we want to get over here, but we know like you can't do that all at once. There's probably steps along the way because you got to keep your audience coming with you. Going this far is often too far and too much of a leap. I think that's a great point.
Right. So like, if your audience is over here, like talking about like, beef with other, like, Arby's versus Burger King or like McDonald's Burger King. And then you're like over here, like we're giving women burgers and yay women for giving birth. And like, it's just like, it's too much of a stretch, right? Like you gotta like make the connection somehow. So probably also if I were going to redo it, I would get you a few steps further before you did a campaign like this so that it feels on brand. Like if Bobby came out and said like, did a campaign where they show formula being the first thing that they gave to a baby, like out of the womb, like people would be up in arms. But I think that people would also be like, wow, thank you for showing something that actually happens to a lot of women. And thank you for not shaming us while like, in the process, because that has always been their story.
Yeah, totally. I think that's absolutely true. And I think that's interesting. And we talk a lot about shaming versus empowering marketing, right? Like this story, I have no doubt that they put it out there as wanting it to be an empowering piece, right? Wanting it to be an empowering piece. And it's interesting that the some of the commentary, I'm certainly not going to say all of it, but I think a lot of the controversy is around the shaming of it, not the empowering of it.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep it under 20.
Fun week. All right. This was fun.
It's a lot to dig into. Amazing. Till next time.
Bye.